Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I am back with part 2 of my 10 cards 1 kit using the Simon Says stamp March 2021 card kit. So we are going to go ahead here and jump right into card number 6. If you missed the first 5 cards, you can check those out in the video that I posted yesterday. I am working here on a panel trimmed out from MFT's Black Licorice cardstock. This measures 3 3/4 by 9 inches. Just grabbing my ruler here and my pencil and creating some plumb lines for the centers of this panel. I have grabbed 3 of the cut aparts and trimmed those out. I really loved the pattern paper that was included in this, and it came with a bunch of cut aparts. I enjoyed working with those with this kit. So I have chosen 3 of those that I like there. And then I had some of the sort of rip strips from the top of the papers that I had saved. I always save every bit of paper because you never know what you can use. So I've got a light, medium, and dark tone there. And I thought I would add these in a gradation going in between the 3 panels. Now I did need 1 additional color there. So I picked out another pink sort of going in that same gradation from light to dark. That one has a slight pattern to it, and I've just trimmed that down to the same size. These measure about 1/2 inch wide. Like I said, the other 3 are that top portion, the rip strip from the pattern paper. So I just took that other pink pattern, cut that out to 1/2 inch, and then they all measure roughly 2 3/4 inches. So I'm going to pop this first panel up here right in the center. And then I have all of this laid out. I'm going to add some art glitter glue to the back here. I'm just going to slide that underneath so I can get a nice consistent flow from the colors and the panels with no break in between there. And then while I'm doing that, I'll go ahead and add the one underneath as well. Not being super careful, I didn't measure this out. I just sort of eyeballed it and made sure I had about the same amount peeking out on the top and the bottom of that. I'll continue on here by adding my top panel and that lightest strip right above that. And then my bottom panel. Again, just doing my best to create an even look there. And finally, I'll add that darkest pink at the bottom there. I'll go ahead and erase those pencil lines that are left. And then for the inside, I have a Nina panel trimmed to the same size, 3 3/4 by 9 inches. I'm going to stamp out the sentiment, "Spring is coming." I have created a card base using some MFT snow cone cardstock that measures 4 by 9 1/4. I had a little extra piece of that from when I trimmed down my card, so I'm going to add some Scor-Tape behind that and just create a little line under my sentiment there to give my inside panel a little bit more interest. I'll place that down and trim off the excess. I'll add some ATG to the back of my top panel and pop that on my card base. And again, add some ATG to my inside panel and place that down as well. And that will complete card number 6. Here for card number 2, I'm going to do a little bit of watercoloring. So I have pulled out this Simon Says stamp watercolor paper that was included. I'm going to stamp out this curved window. And I'll stamp that a few times. This is a textured water paper, so I want to make sure that I'm going to get a nice crisp image. I will then go ahead and fussy cut that out. I left out the coloring. It was really straightforward. I really love the look of something stamped and partially colored, so I actually left the window and box and everything just that black and white, and then added a little pop of color using the markers, the distress markers that had been included in the kit, that green, the sort of orangey yellow, and the pink. Now I have trimmed out a panel from this window pane pattern paper that measures 4 by 5 1/4. I wanted to soften that a bit, so I also pulled out this vellum and I trimmed that slightly smaller at 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I'm going to layer that, it'll soften the back, and that'll help the window that I have cut out here just to stand out a little bit better. This pink checkerboard I'm going to trim down to 1.5 inches wide. And I'm just making sure that everything is going to look the way that I would like it to. Next, I'm going to stamp out my sentiment. You'll see I'm pulling out those rip strips there. I decided to go with the lightest pale pink. I'm going to stamp out the sentiment, "Hello Friend." For the inside of my card, I'm going to stamp out the sentiment, "I hold you in my heart and thoughts." I'm not sure where I got this card base from. It was green on the outside and white on the inside. It must have come in a card kit at some point, but I have no idea where I got it. I'm going to add a little flagged edge there to my sentiment. And then again, just layering everything up to make sure that I've got it where I would like it to be. So I have popped up my window here with some pop dots. I went ahead and layered everything down on the top of my card base using some ATG. Lost a little bit of that footage, I'm not sure quite what happened there. And then I'll add that leftover piece I trimmed off of that pink checkerboard along the inside just for a little bit of extra interest. And that will complete card number 7. Card number 8 is fairly simple. I really fell in love with this pattern paper, wanted to use it again. I used it in one of the cards on the first set of 5, and this is the leftover piece. So I ended up layering these together. I left about 1/4 inch top and bottom, and I wasn't worried about that piece in the middle because I knew I was going to cover that up with my seed strip here. So the measurements finally ended up being 1 inch, which is the pink, 3/4 inch, which is the strip from the seed packet paper, and then 2 inches, which is that pretty sort of turquoise blue up at the top. I'm just layering all of these. I will trim off that excess there to make sure that I can get this smaller seed strip straight across there. That way I can use the measurements on my grid. I was really working with leftovers at this point. Trimming off that excess there, and then I have gone ahead again and layered this beautiful sentiment together 3 times. I did also pull in the green checkered pattern paper, and I cut out the shadow that goes along with this. Doesn't that look so pretty? I just love the way that helps this stand out, makes it easy to read. Just really beautiful to add both of those together. Again, I'll add my dots there just to complete my sentiment. My card base, as well as the beautiful sentiment, have been cut out from MFT's Jelly Bean Green. And once I have that ready, I'm going to lay that out on the top of my card base. I did pull in another one of these Tim Holtz sentiment stickers, and I decided to go with Happy Day. Just going to use my little tool there to hold that, make sure I get it nice and straight. And then I'll add some more art glitter glue behind my cutout there and place that right on top. For the inside, I'm going to use another one of these stickers, grabbing my ruler to make sure I can get that nice and straight. And I decided to go with Shine Brightly for the inside. Always wanting to add a little bit more, I used that same checkered pattern paper from my shadow. I'm going to trim off about 1/4 inch of that, add some Scor-Tape behind, and I'll run that along the bottom of the inside of my card. And that will complete card number 8. For card number 9, I am going back to my Copic coloring here. I'm going to do this window that sort of has the cabiny feel to it. I'm going to layer on some pretty greens for my shutters, and I am using YG41 and YG45 for that. I'll then use the same colors that I used for that circular window. For the box, I'm using E15 and E18. For the actual glass of the windows, I'm using BG10. And then for my flowers, I'm going to fill those in with YG25, YG45, R43, R35, RV66, and Y35. And again, I will have all of those linked for you on my blog post. I have gone ahead and fussy cut that out, and I've grabbed a little bit of twine from my stash here. I believe this is mink twine from Close to My Heart. If that's still available, I will link it for you. This is leftover from a kit from several months ago, and I'm not sure if it's still available. This is actually the last little bit of it that I had in my stash. So I'm just going to go ahead, add some ATG to the back there to hold that in place, and then I'll tie that in a little bow. I have once again used that beautiful cutout sentiment. This time I've trimmed that out using Paper Tray Ink Plum Pudding, really pretty purple. I thought that went beautifully with the green of those shutters. I'm going to pop up my window again using some foam dots. And I'm working here on a Nina card base. Just laying everything out. I'm going to glue down half of this die cut to my window just to get that in place. And then once again, I'm going to go back to that foam tape that I had trimmed out and actually cut down to about a 1/16 of an inch wide. I really wanted to have this popped up and keep that nice and even with the window. So I will meticulously go through here and add that at the thicker portions. I did actually do a double layer of that to make sure everything was nice and even. Here I'm peeling away all the backing, and then I'm going to pop that down on my card base. So for my full sentiment, I want it to read, "Thinking of you, beautiful." And I will again go back to those Tim Holtz phrases. I'm going to pull off one of those stickers that says "Thinking of you." Oh, first I gotta add the dot from my eye there. Just layering those on top, making sure that's nice and thick and everything looks even. And now I'll pull in that sticker. So again, because I'm placing this sort of half on, half off that window, I will need to add a little bit of foam tape there just to keep everything nice and even. And I'll pop that down in place. For the inside, again, grabbing one of those Tim Holtz stickers. And this time I will go with "Sending Love." Again, using my ruler just to make sure I get that there nice and straight. And that will complete card number 9. For card number 10, I decided to go back to my Copics, and this was a labor-intensive card. It took quite a while. I have sped things up here. There you'll see I've stamped out this window on some masking paper. I am going to do 3 of these windows in a row, and then I wanted to create the look of bricks behind them. So I needed something to cover over that when I stamped the bricks. So because I wanted to make this one layer, I didn't want to have to fussy cut out a bunch of everything. So this is going to be a 1-layer card, but giving it a little bit of dimension with the bricks behind the windows. So I am measuring out the center of my panel. This is Neenah Solar White, trimmed to 3 3/4 by 9 inches. I'm going to find my center, and I will stamp out the center window, and then I will measure out to keep everything nice and even and add another window on either side of that. Here I'm stamping out that first one. I do skip ahead a bit here. As I said, this took quite a bit of time. It was a bit tedious getting everything lined up because I wanted those windows all, exactly layered and placed right next to one another. There, all 3 of them are stamped. I'm going to place down my mask on the center window. I trimmed that out for everything except those little flowers that peek out on the side. I just carefully placed my bricks so that they would not be covering those. And then I've laid out my brick stamps here. You'll see I'm going to stamp those down. For that, I wanted a bit of a lighter color, so I went with Lawn Fawn Hippo ink. And there you'll see I peel away that mask, and it looks like the bricks are behind the window. I'm going to do that same thing, just filling in with bricks here and there on the other 2 at the side. And I do make sure to have some that are sort of going off the top as well as off the bottom of my panel, just to give this sort of a continuous look, make it look as though there is building above and below those windows. Skipping ahead again, I have gone ahead and colored these exactly the same as I did the one in my first video. So used all the same colors, did all the same techniques. If you want to go back and watch that again, it is the video that I posted yesterday. Popping this large panel up here using some of my foam tape. And I have created a card base using MFT's Steel Gray. The card base measures 4 by 9 1/4. Center that down right on top there. And I'm going to pull in then one of the circle sentiments that I had previously stamped and cut out, the one that reads "Love You." So just deciding where I want to place that. I am going to add one more layer here, adding some pop dots. And I'll place that down there on the center window. For the inside, I've got another Neenah panel. This is again trimmed to 3 3/4 by 9 inches. I'm going to stamp out the sentiment, "Dreaming of the day when I see you again," using my Simon Says stamp, Intense Black ink. And then I have a little leftover piece of that snow cone cardstock, measures about 1/4 inch. I'm going to add some Scor-Tape behind that, and I'll place that along the bottom portion of my panel. I'll add some ATG to the back, place that on the inside of my card base, and that will complete card number 10. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. You'll find additional photos as well as links to the supplies I used in my blog post listed below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.